Okay, so yeah, this I'm gonna talk about advice for people who are targeted individuals. Um, so I want to share at least my side of the experience. Like, there's a lot of people who join in and they don't know why they're being sent to watch you. Like, they don't know why they're involved in this program to come against you. A lot of them trust the ringleader who's involved. And so if the ringleader says something bad about you, because they trust this person and they see this person as like they see this person as like wise or honest or truthful about whatever information that they present. A lot of times the people who participate don't know that this person's either made up things about you or exaggerated things about you. So when some people, when they participate in targeting you or coming after you, a lot of times they don't realize that they're coming after an innocent person. They don't realize that they're coming after somebody that doesn't deserve the mistreatment that they're getting. A lot of them don't know. Some of them do know, but a lot of them don't know. So what can I say from my own experience as to, you know, why people participate in bullying behavior? Some people have been strategically given by the ringleader a bad perception of you. They were intentionally using your bad moments, using times where you had reactive abuse, or you just got fed up with the way you were being treated, and they use that to discredit you, to make you look bad. A lot of the times, these are the tactics that are being used to gather a bunch of people who originally didn't have a problem with you to have a problem with you at some point. So I like keep that in. This is very essential information to have when you're coming up against these people, because a lot of them actually really are not the problem. A lot of them are really not the problem. I'll talk about them in just a minute. Okay, so a lot of them are actually not the problem. A lot of them were sent after you because one person. Now, let me go in a little bit in depth on the people who don't know any better. So, I'm sure some of you all are familiar with the term flying monkeys or flunkies. Some of you all are familiar with the tactics that either flying monkeys or the ringleader narcissist will use to, get people to all riled up and to gang up on you and to try to disempower you. It's called triangulation. Now, if you add the concept of triangulation times 10, that's what essentially you'll get with gang stalking. Gang stalking is basically triangulation on steroids. That's basically what that is. Now, the people who don't know any better, these people, unfortunately, due to either unfortunate circumstances where they're vulnerable to the ringleader, or maybe they've gone through some type of trauma to make them act the way that they do. But it's that those are not the people who are the problem, and those are not the people that you take it personally. Like, you just the people who are not the problem are not the ones that you take it personally from, because they're really not the problem. They're not really the people that you need to worry about hurting you. Um, Now, I wouldn't recommend that you just try to like talk these people down and reason with them, because what it really comes down to is if I guess to the people who are this message is towards the people who are willing participants and don't know what's going on, because like I said before, if someone can participate in unhealthy behavior to target an individual and they don't know why they're doing it, they don't have a problem with you originally, they don't know why they're attacking you, and they're going only based off of what someone else said, that's a problem. And that person is probably likely either very vulnerable, too trusting of the ringleader, or maybe suffer from some type of mental illness. Because someone who has a healthy mindset that the ringleader is going to try to use to triangulate you against this person, the person who has no problem with you, because the ringleader is the one who has the problem with you. The ringleader uses a band of followers and plays on their emotions to justify attacking you from a distance. Okay? So the people who are willingly getting themselves involved based off of speculation, based off of hearsay, are a lot of the times not mentally healthy enough to put the puzzle pieces together and say, well, why am I going up against someone that I don't know? Why am I going to get up against someone that I don't have a problem with? Why am I not being strategically put up against someone that I've made clear I don't like? Why do I have to go against someone that I don't know, barely know anything about? So a lot of the times these people are not healthy. So they may not necessarily be pure evil, but they're not necessarily healthy enough to ask the necessary questions. And they're definitely not, they're not really, their moral compass isn't necessarily strong enough to guide them to do the proper investigation. So they a lot of times will team up into something that has nothing to do with them. They'll team up against somebody that has like is no potential threat to their safety or their future. They get involved in something that has nothing to do with them, and quite frankly, it's none of their business. And so, why do people do this? Like I said before, a lot of the times, they either suffer from a mental illness, they don't have a backbone enough to make the right decision, and some of them have secrets. Some of them have dirty secrets that they want to keep hidden, and the only way that they can keep those secrets hidden is doing the narcissist or the ringleader's dirty work. Unfortunately, this is unfortunate, but this is why people who originally, to be quite honest, who don't have a problem with you at all, don't even care much for you, will get involved into some dangerous shit that ain't got nothing to do with them. And if they had just moved on, mind their own business, they would have never been catching the heat. It would have all been given to the ringleader or the people who are the elite group of ringleaders. So a lot of henchmen, flying monkeys, whatever you want to call them, end up catching the backlash and getting all the heat for something that they should have never gotten involved in. So I just wanted to remind targeted individuals that please do keep in mind most of the people who are being sent to watch you don't know who you are. They don't know why they're following you. They don't know. Most of them don't know. A lot of them don't know. If this stranger is somebody you've never seen before, this person doesn't have a problem with you. 9 times out of 10, it's someone that you know that use whatever animosity that you two could potentially have for each other in the future to blind you both from seeing what this person is obviously doing to the both of you. That's why the narcissist will use divide and conquer tactics, such as involving people who would have or could have been a future support system for you and getting away from this abuser, but because the ringleader of the gang stalking, like whoever sent people to destroy your life, has secrets. Whoever is the ringleader who sent a bunch of people who were close to you or who could cause the most damage in your life to attack you, it's this person. This person has secrets. This person is 9 times out of 10 wearing a mask, and they don't want anyone, including you, to not only find out who this person is, the ringleader, aka the ringleader, and this ringleader does not want the world or society to figure out who they are. So that's why a lot of the times you're being gang stalked, because you're the one of the group who is strong, outspoken, and you're willing to shed a light in areas that a lot of people are too scared to shed a light on. You're willing to put your life at risk to do the right thing. See, because when we're children, we are being given a choice. Whether some of us like to acknowledge that we were given this choice or not, we were given this choice ever since birth to either be a good person or a bad person. And some people just make a choice. They just make a choice to do bad things. They make a choice to be an evil person. And some people make a choice to consistently be kind to others and be a good person. It's just that simple. There's a gray area, absolutely. But what it comes down to is making a clear choice. Choice A or choice B. You don't have the option of none of the above. You don't have the option of all of the above. One or two choices, A or B. Some people make whatever choice they feel is best for them. But I need the targeted individual audience to understand that most of the people who are coming after you are actually not even directly the problem. In some cases, when it comes down to gang stalking, the person who is the problem is the person that you can't even see. So, what's my advice for flunkies who end up getting caught up with the narcissist karma and they end up sinking in the same boat as a narcissist? My suggestion to you is we all understand that we all have somebody in our life that we're loyal to that could tell us something and we'll believe it immediately. Okay, so I'm not judging someone for making a mistake. I'm not ever gonna just judge someone for making a mistake. It's a pattern in where I would feel the need to make a judgment. Where judgment is needed to be made is when there's a pattern. Okay, so when there is an established pattern, and not only I can see that, but the rest of the community can see that there is a clear pattern, that's where the judgment needs to be made. Okay, so let me get that out the way. So this message is to the flunkies, the flying monkeys who choose to get involved, so that we can distinguish a clear line between willing participants and people who are being manipulated, whose loyalty and kindness are being taken advantage of. There's a difference. There is a complete difference. So my message out there to the targeted individuals who are confused, and maybe even some of the flying monkeys who didn't know they were henchmen. You may not have known. It's okay. You loved the narcissist, you supported them, you trusted them, and you didn't know you were being used. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry to break this news to you, but you were in fact being used. And at one point in time, I was a flying monkey and I didn't consent to it, nor did I know. But I was being used. And I'm so sorry to break it to anybody who has that gut feeling that they might be getting used by a narcissist. You're getting used. If you even have to question that, you're getting used. It's messed up to talk about. It's messed up to acknowledge this and admit it, but the truth will set us all free. And we'll be able to stop these toxic patterns when we find out the truth. And when some of us who know the truth are willing to speak the truth. Okay? Now, this message is for you guys. When it comes down to anybody, it does not matter how much you trust this person, it does not matter how much you love them. If anybody comes to you telling you a story that defames another person's character, if this story were to get out, make sure that the story is true. If you care enough, do the proper research and investigation before attacking a person. Because sometimes, even within the investigation, even with things that seem tangible, that seem legit, may not be as legit as you think it is. Make sure that whatever information that is being presented to you, you find out on your own whether or not it is the truth. So, for an example, say somebody were to come to a group of people and tell somebody that, I'm just, I don't know, a car thief. And I know that sounds crazy, but, somebody goes around telling people that I steal cars for a living. It's up to you on whether or not you're going to do the research. Just believing a person who goes out and says these things about me is one thing. That makes you top tier qualified to be a flying monkey. If you just blindly believe what someone says without doing your own research or questioning them, you are the top level candidate to be a flying monkey, and you will be manipulated and you will be taken advantage of. Your feelings will be exploited, and you will be finding yourself doing things that you never would have thought you would do for someone who is playing on your emotions. If someone brings any information to you, you have your God given right to free will to do your research and find out if this information is accurate. You need to find out the full story, his side, her side, and the truth. If you don't care enough to do the research, just say you don't care so we can all move on. If you do care enough, do the proper research and don't be biased. It don't matter whose side. I don't care if you're loyal to the other person. I don't care if you believe this other person off the bat. I don't care. Do your research. And when you do your research and you find out the truth, make the proper judgment. That's my suggestion for any targeted individual, and that's my suggestion for people who are caught in between the two, not knowing who the targeted individual is and who the perpetrator is. We understand that investigations need to be made. We understand that judgments have to be made, that fingers need to be pointed. We all understand that. But what I'm saying to you all, to the audience, is you need to make sure that when you do your research, that the blame is put where it needs to go. Point the finger where it needs to be pointed. So say if you find out I'm a carjacker, point the blame at me. But if you find out that this person is lying on my name, you need to hold that person accountable and don't take sides until you find out the truth. And don't just take sides with someone because they're your favorite. Take sides because it's the right thing to do. Because there's too many times where we allow misguided loyalty to guide us down the wrong path and do the wrong thing. And sometimes when we screw the wrong person over because we made the wrong judgment, we end up losing out on beautiful connections in the future because we're not a lot of us are not willing to do that work. But the reality of it is we're dealing with slander and defamation of character. And this type of behavior can block somebody and stop somebody from getting a job. Now we all understand that if somebody is not being allowed to get a job, maybe it's the right thing. Maybe this person couldn't be trusted in the workplace. And that's definitely a possibility. But we all as a community need to make sure that this is the proper judgment that's being made. Or else we stand to face the consequences of somebody who we stand to face the consequences and take the karma of somebody who don't even care about us. What a lot of times flunkies don't realize about the ringleaders is that this person don't care about you. This person don't care about your lifespan. They don't care about what happens to you in the crossfire. So say you fight their battles for them because you care about them and you're loyal to them. Think about it. Fighting for somebody, risking your life for somebody that does not care about your safety. I hate to break this, to people in a blunt way, but I need the community to snap out of it. That love spell that a lot of the times the narcissist has us under. Because a lot of times when we get caught up in that, we end up compromising our integrity and doing things that we thought we'd never do. But I'm one of those people where I love the community and I'm willing to keep it real with the community at all costs, even if I'm at a bad standing with the community. I'm willing to keep it 100 because this is that unconditional love. This is that tough love that I got to give because this is why the narcissist is always allowed to get away with this type of behavior because we're not willing to ask ourselves tough questions. We're not willing to do the investigation because we don't feel like it. It's too much work. Well, that's part of the problem why we end up in situations where we have to put in way more work than the simple investigation, than going around asking the right people who will tell us the truth. We go around and we ask our best friends thinking that they are our best friends when 5 years later we end up finding out that they were never our friends to begin with. So what it really kind of comes down to is doing either staying out of it or doing the proper research. If you're gonna get involved in all the drama and you're gonna instigate, be unbiased, be fair, do the proper research, and then find out the truth. And when you find out the truth, don't start covering for the person that you favor. No, hold them accountable, even if it's me. Hold people accountable. You know what I'm saying? This is how certain people are allowed to get away with so much.
Because when we put the love that we have for them over their behavior, they end up becoming psychopaths, and then they take it way too far and end up hurting an innocent person, or God forbid, a child. So this is behavior that needs to be addressed. And when we don't talk about these tough conversations, we don't talk about this stuff. This is how certain abusers are allowed the power that they have, because we don't want to talk about it, but we need to talk about it. We need to be honest. Because I know some of y'all are getting fed up with the way that the world is turning out. That's because we've allowed so much bullshit to slide instead of being willing to put in the hard work to go through the sacrifices of losing our home, losing our wealth, losing our clothes, losing, you know, easy access to food, and not having to work and hunt for it. Sometimes we need to put our financial security on the line for morality. This is what this is about. So this is how a lot of the times, excuse me. Oh, give me a second. Okay. So a lot of the times we'll sit there and we'll ask ourselves, how did it get so far? How did it get so bad? It's because we ignored a lot. You know, we it may be the targeted individual that's not favored, right? And because we see them as unfavorable, we'll take the side of somebody who looks better, dresses better, smells better, but there may be no soul inside that carnal vessel, versus someone who may not look good on the outside, or may not have all the clout or the money, but is clearly innocent. And no one will take this person's side because they're not favored, or because they're being outcasted, or because if you associate with this person, you'll lose your benefits too. And we need to start putting our benefits on the line. This is how we will gain financial freedom. This is how we can break free from the gang stalking program, is being willing to sacrifice our financial stability for a moral conscience. And the more and more people who sell their souls for money and clout will pay the cost of being on this earth without a soul. There's always a price. And I'll talk about that later. The consequences of selling your soul, and thinking that, having all this money and no conscience will get you far, and it really won't take you anywhere. I'll talk about that later, but this video is really more specifically about advice about the gang stalk, like how to handle the gang stalking program. So another thing that I wanted to say, um, for those who are not exactly targeted individuals, but you notice something strange is going on, or at least your the person that you're with, your loved one, is starting to become more vocal about being gang stalked, and you may not believe it, or you may not know. Um, what advice can I give to people who are the bystanders and watching a loved one suffer from this? Well, one or two things could be a possibility. One, um, I'm just gonna keep it 150. I'm gonna keep it a buck 50 with y'all. I'm not gonna lie or sugarcoat anything. The person that is your loved one, it's a possibility that they could be a gang. Let me just first give them the benefit of the doubt. You could be dealing with someone who really is being gang stalked. And if this person really is a victim of gang stalking, my suggestion is to not only just support this person, but do your proper investigation, do your research on not even just the history of gang stalking, but the tactics, the psychological tactics that are being used to attack. And when you've done your research, align the information that you found with the way that your loved one is being treated. If you find some similarities there, that is not a coincidence. That is not a coincidence at all. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just saying that this world is too small for coincidences. Too small for coincidences. Okay? And if you actually end up finding out that this person, your loved one, is a target of gang stalking, if you actually end up finding out that this information is actually accurate, yes, support this person, but understand that you need to make a choice. Support this person wholeheartedly or not at all. You can't be in between, because this gang stalking program is a battle. It's a spiritual battle. It's a spiritual warfare between good and evil. You're going to have to stand your ground and make a choice. You either support your loved one, and that means you're going to have to go through the hell of the gang stalking too, or get up and walk away. The very least that you can do is leave this person alone and move the hell out the way. If you're not going to show them support, move the hell out the way. Don't antagonize this person. Don't make their life worse. Just get up, leave them alone, get out of their life for good, and leave them be. Um, if you find out that your loved one is being gang stalked and you participate in the gang stalking, I'm going to warn you. And I'm going to warn you very, very urgently. If you participate in the gang stalking, knowing that your loved one is being gang stalked, you are putting yourself in fatal danger. Why? What do you think is going to happen when your loved one snaps? You are the closest one. They trusted you with this information. And if you use this information and you turn against them and become a perpetrator, you are putting your life at risk. And quite frankly, the karmic lesson is that you would be the one who would get the fatal blow. I'm just keeping it real, because when you find out about gang stalk and how real it is, because it is real, and if you find out that your loved one is being gang stalked and you make the wrong moral choice, you're going to be next in line to get the heat. I guarantee you that. So either do the right thing and support this person wholeheartedly and have this person's back, or move the hell out the way. Because if you become an ally of the gang stalking program, you basically just signed your death certificate. You sign your own will. You'll you may not understand what I'm saying now, but you'll understand later. When gang stalk, because I believe gang stalking is going to probably be a psychological requirement, meaning that anytime you take a psychology class, you're going to have to find out about American gang stalking, because it's one of the most infamous programs in the world. Okay, so if you decide to participate and join the enemy, you just sign your death certificate, and you need to watch your back, because if you compromise your integrity to get riches, you're going to find yourself wealthy as ever in a casket. This is very serious, because why do you think so many people end up on first 48? Because they attack their husbands and wives. Why do you think so many people end up on first 48? Because their family member attacked them. Any victim that has to go through gang stalking, it is the worst psychological experiment ever. And some of us have to go through physical pain being gang stalked. Some of us are being electronically harassed and attacked. And some of us actually have to go through the worst pains of our life, like having lupus. So imagine having a radioactive machine being pointed at your head, stomach, butt, ass, spine, and you're going through the worst physical pains in your life, thinking that it feels like somebody's literally stabbing you. And then having one person that we love and trust and we tell this information to use this against us and sell us out. What do you think is going to happen to you? Because a lot of us, most of us who are targeted individuals, are actually good people, and we're innocent people, and we haven't done anything wrong. We're being targeted because of our strong will. And for you to make light of the situation and turn your back on us when we need you the most is not the smartest thing to do. And if you're going to do that, don't stick around, because you're putting yourself in danger over money, and it's not worth it. It's not worth losing your life and your safety because you decide to side with the enemy. Trust me, it's not. That's a warning for anybody that finds out that their loved one is a targeted individual. If you're not going to support this person, move the hell out the way, or you're putting your life in danger. Don't do the wrong thing on behalf of the money, because guaranteed you're going to be stuck in the same position as the person who originally told you that they're being targeted. Sometimes you'll end up in a situation where you're doing worse and you're going to be face to face with the person that you backstabbed to get to the top. Why? Because you made the wrong decision when you were tested. Gang stalking is a test and it goes both ways, not just for the TI, not just for the perpetrator, but for the bystanders who are the audience who choose on whether or not they decide to sit there and watch, protect the abuser, or defend the victim. It's really a test worldwide. And it's up to you on whether or not you're going to pass that test or fail. Because at the end of the day, the gang stalking program is a jigsaw puzzle. It is a jigsaw riddle. And if you get the answer wrong, game over. It's that simple. That's my blunt answer. Now, let me give you the other answer, the other side of it. Because I'm not playing with y'all when it comes to this type of information, because they're doing this to children. They are gang stalking children, attacking children, and destroying their lives. So, this is why I'm coming at you so heavy. Listen to my words carefully. Now, there it could be another scenario, because sometimes when we're dealing with narcissists and they're on the verge of a narcissistic collapse, they will cry wolf a lot. So you could say your loved one comes to you and says, "I'm a targeted individual." It's definitely good to do your research, but say, playing devil's advocate here. It's a possibility that, and this is very hard information, so I'll be a little bit more delicate when I lay this information down. No one wants to hear that someone that they love, trust, and is loyal to could be a possible homicidal maniac, a narcissist, a serial killer, a mob boss. We don't want to hear these things about people that we see highly of, we think very highly of. We don't want to find this information out about somebody. It's very hard to find this out, but at the end of the day, the truth needs to be said. So, say hypothetically speaking, your loved one comes to you and says they are a targeted individual. Now, playing devil's advocate, say your loved one is potentially crying wolf in this situation, and they are a ringleader or the ringleader of a gang stalking program that's been organized to attack an innocent person. And because now they're getting karma for their behavior and what they participated in, now they're coming to you, complaining to you, saying that they're of the victim, when really they were actually the bully and the perpetrator. I'm going to give you the same advice that I gave you before, very similar. Some of it's going to be the same, some of it is similar. The same part is, do your research. Do not jump to conclusions. Do not jump when someone says jump. Do not go when somebody just says go. Don't even go at the suggestion of it, a hint at it. Do your research. Somebody that knows that they're telling the truth is not going to have a problem with you doing research. Somebody that doesn't have anything to hide, somebody that's not guilty, is not going to have a problem with you doing research. So if you say, you know what, babe, I never heard of nothing like this before. So, give me some time to do some research so I can help you out and show support. Now, if this person is innocent, they're going to be like, go ahead, baby, take your time, but please hurry up. Or they're going to say, well, if they're guilty, they're going to say something along the lines of, what you doing research for? Well, how come you don't just take my word for it? Now, you might get a victim that will respond this way, um, and like I said, this is where it comes down to you kind of doing your research, because in the beginning stages, it's very hard to tell who the victim is and who the perpetrator is, because we respond the same. See, we the victims, we're paranoid because we're being stalked and we don't know why. We're being harassed and we don't know why. And we thought that maybe we did something in the past life that warranted this response. Like, we, a lot of times, we victims, we like, this is clearly happening. I can clearly see it. Why doesn't anyone else see it? So a lot of us are paranoid. We don't know who to trust. Because some of us ended up finding out that some of our family members were a part of this gang stalking. So we don't know who, a lot of us victims, we don't know who to trust. So we do get hyper vigilant. We do get paranoid when we see anybody that notices it and either wants to help or is trying to help or trying to do their research. a lot of us are so damaged mentally and paranoid, right? So a lot of us will probably have that response of, well, how come you just don't believe me on site? It's clearly happening in front of you, but you may just see it as two people are talking about something that has nothing to do with us. But I'm catching on to the subtle, covert, manipulative, like passive aggressive communication that's being directed towards me. But you may not know it, but I see it, right? So let me get back to the person who the loved one that's crying wolf here. This is just a hypothetical situation. Now, I'm not saying that somebody that comes to you and says, I'm being gang stalked as a potential liar. I'm just saying that there are some narcissists who cry wolf when they're getting bad karma. And to basically, learn the difference. Learn the because this is going to be very essential into playing a part in helping the justice system catch the bad guy essentially and stop locking up innocent people. Okay, so say you're dealing with a loved one, right, and you tell this person, okay, well, I've never heard of gang stalking before. I've never heard, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't know that this was happening. Let me do my research on whatever you're talking about so I could show some support. 9 times out of 10, if this is the victim, they will have a sigh of relief because most people were not willing to do the research. They were willing to go along with the program either because they didn't want to lose the benefits, they didn't want to be targeted, or they didn't care. And there are very few people that, you know, were guided by their moral compass to do their research. Very few. It'll probably be one person in your life that's willing to do the research. Only one. And that's the sad part. But most of us targeted individuals, if we gotten to a point where we've gotten somewhat used to the gang stalking program or we're not as paranoid as before, we will actually be grateful to you for being willing to do the research where most people were not. They're willing to just side against us because it was convenient or because they didn't really like us very much. So they sided against us, even though some of them knew that we were the victims. They didn't care, you know? And then someone who is in the wrong, someone who is lying about their TI experience, is 9 times out of 10 going to get very defensive if you mention anything about doing any research. So I say be very careful with how you respond. I wouldn't suggest you say this. Like if anybody comes to you and says they're a targeted individual, my suggestion is not letting that be the first response. Um, my suggestion is only say that to someone that you have undeniable proof that that person is a targeted individual. You know that this person is a good person, they have nothing to hide. That's the only person that I would suggest you saying that to. Now, if you have any speculation that this person is lying, don't tell them that you're going to do any research and don't tell them that you don't believe them either. That's a dangerous situation even if you're dealing with a victim. That's a dangerous bold statement to say. Very dangerous. Okay? So, my advice to people who are not targeted, who are dealing with someone close to them that is claiming to be targeted, that person is allegedly a targeted individual until there's undeniable proof that that person is targeted individual. Because there's some people that we know are targeted individuals that are celebrities. We may not have known the term, but we knew that paparazzi and the media was blacklisting them and trying to tear their name down and assassinate their character. We've seen that happen many times. The only difference with the gang stalking program is that it's happening to people that don't have clout, don't have fame. It's just they're just doing this to good people all around the globe. Um, so anyway, my suggestion for the person who's crying wolf, if this person comes to you and they say they're being gang stalked, and you might have speculations that they be doing, some grimy stuff, they move kind of shisty, and you suspect that they're getting karma, I wouldn't suggest you brag in their face and be bold about it and be like, haha, that's what you get. I wouldn't suggest that either. But all I'm saying is, do your research, find out the truth, and if you find out that your loved one is actually a targeted individual, show them support where you can. Let them know what your limitations, and just know that if they have your support and they know it, they're gonna respect your boundaries. They're gonna respect your limitations. Like say for instance, If you say, well, look, I can, be on the lookout, but I can only stay up past a certain time, or, I can't help you on the weekends because those are my days off, or, be clear with the person that you're helping, because if you're not clear about where your boundaries are, um, they're gonna cling. A targeted individual is going to cling to you, because you have to understand this person is holding on to dear life. Targeted individuals are actually in danger, even though it's illegal for any of them to touch us. A lot of us have come up missing, um, have been human trafficked, have been assaulted physically and sexually due to some of these perpetrators. And so some of our lives are in danger, if not all of our lives are in danger as far as TIs are concerned. So if you're the only person willing to do research or show support, this person might cling to you because they feel like you're the only way out. Don't take that personally. It's just when you're in a situation where you feel like you're fighting for your life and you only have one supporter, what would you do in that situation? Right? So, don't I wouldn't suggest judging or looking down on this person, because if you were in that position, you would understand why they responded the way they did. um just try not to be judgmental, and just understand that if you were put in a position to where you had to fight for your safety, you had to fight for your freedom, you had to fight for basic necessities as a human being, how would you feel if you had to, um basically, if you were financially abused so badly to where the only time that you could get hygiene was going to your abuser? How humiliating and degrading of an experience is that? Would that be for you? So, don't I wouldn't definitely wouldn't suggest immediately judging a TI, because you don't know what they had to do to survive. The reason why we're TIs in the first place is because we wouldn't comply with the New World Order. We weren't down with it. We wasn't getting jiggy with that. We wasn't getting jiggy with evil. We just wasn't. And that's a lot of the reasons why we were targeted. Because think about it. If some of us TIs find out some top secret information or some top secret type shit that we're not supposed to know, whether from the mafia or even the shadow government, why would you target someone that's not a threat, that wouldn't expose you? You wouldn't. If you're dealing with somebody that's just as morally jaded as you are, you would have nothing to worry about. See, the reason why they attack us is because our moral integrity. They attack us because we're whistleblowers, but they can't kill us all. And so this is where you come in, the support. So a lot of the times, us TIs, we try to tell our story, but a lot of us have been stolen from and robbed so many times. Like, if I told y'all however many phones I've had to replace in a year, some of y'all contract ain't even up for your cell phone until a year. Imagine how many phones that I've had to replace in a year's time span. At least 25. Don't get me started on when I was at the peak of danger of being gang stalked. How many phones I've had to replace and how much money I had to spend on phones to replace them, to just get out my story, get out my message. So I'm sure you can only imagine anytime you leave your phone at home, somebody coming in your house and taking your phone. Imagine anytime you have a public conversation with a friend or on the phone or a business call, and then somebody from the gang stalking program um, commenting in another conversation right next to you what they heard you say on the phone. Like, imagine having to go through those psychological tactics every single day, somebody doing that to you. Imagine every single conversation that you have, whether you sending some prayers up to the Most High, or you having a conversation with your baby mama, or you having a business meeting call, and the perpetrators are always letting you know everywhere you go that they hear your conversations and they're responding to them in a sick way. Imagine having to go through that type of harassment, that psychological harassment on a daily basis. Now tell me if that would drive you crazy or not. Tell me. I would want to know.